I knew, I knew something wasn't right when they said a baby was on the highway. I knew something was amiss. And I was like, this sounds like a setup. Sounds like somebody was trying to just, catch a woman, get her in the car and then, go do whatever they do. But Carly made up the whole thing. But why the baby? Can somebody explain this to me? Why the baby? Why? Why did she say she saw a child? I'm sleepy. I'm tired. I just want to know what made you say, you know what? I'm going to go out on the highway. I'm going to fabricate a story that's going to mislead all of America into thinking that I am, have been taken. I'm missing. I just want to see who's going to look for me. I want to know who cares. I'm halfway with you. A lot of us are single. We're estranged from our family. We're all hiding and looking at our little, box. We don't want to go outside because it's extremely dangerous. Everything is after us. The value of a human has gone up extremely. I heard a statistic today that said there are more slaves now than there have ever been. And this is all around the world. People are capturing people and saying, you'll never see home again. You must do this or, you're out of here. You're leaving the planet. You must perform this duty. We don't even know what it is because they're getting men too. Men, full-grown men. They're capturing them too. So we can't all say, oh, it's because, it's a woman. No, they're capturing whoever they can. And they're putting them to work. They're putting these people to work and they never see home. They have to escape some kind of way. Listen to the Francis Ngannou story. And what, his people did and how he came into Spain. He got into Spain. He crossed the desert. And there's a huge wall stopping people from coming into Spain. He got into Spain. It's happening all over the world, people. You are valuable. She wanted to know how valuable she was. She wanted to know who cared, who would come looking for her. And the police, just kind of, they use science to catch her in her lies. They said, listen, you're on the highway, you're as a baby, you got out, you grabbed the baby and somebody grabbed you, but the problem is you were on the phone the whole time that you're reporting that there was this baby and you were walking. And they deduced the here's the thing, here's how they found out she was telling a lie. They said you were on the phone the whole time that you were talking to somebody else saying, "Hey, there's a baby out here. I pulled over and there's a baby right there. And I'm going to grab this baby because there's nobody else out here who's stopping to see whose kid this is. It's like a baby. It's a little, baby. It's, I don't know, 2 or whatever." The problem is the distance that she traveled. It was like 3 football fields. So either this baby is a super baby, not to mention you. This baby is traveling at a high rate of speed along with you, or you're in your car telling this story, and then you dipped out after you hung up the phone. You told somebody a story while you were in your car traveling. And when you got done with your story, you hung up the phone because you wanted the person on the other line to say, "What the hell just happened?" It was such an alarming story because and then they called you back, and when they couldn't get a hold of you, what did you do? Missing person. You knew whoever was on the phone loved you. You knew it. You knew they were going to call it in. You are not a person who is not loved. And that's what makes this story even more baffling. You have a whole family who loves you. They care about you. They care about your whereabouts. You talk to them all the time. You guys are not estranged. You guys are in constant communique every day. They know everything that's going on with you, who you're dating, what you're eating, because they love you. They care about you. You called somebody you cared about while you were traveling, and you concocted a whole story to make them think, to sound the alarm. And so they did. They called the authorities. And when they called the authorities and filed you as a missing person, you were also aware that this is happening because you were on the news. And here's the kick in the pants. There were neighborhoods that came out in droves looking for you. There were people that had no idea who you ever were. They came out looking for you. And some of them have been victims of kidnapping. They were like, "My mother was missing." And some of them were like, "So-and-so is missing. So I'm on it. Let's look for you." And they came out and they spent valuable resources. People crying, "Bring her back." And you're sitting somewhere watching the whole thing. Like the Joker. You're sitting there watching the whole thing and you're just like, this is what I wanted. I wanted to know what would happen if I went missing. I just wanted to know. I just wanted to feel it. And then you showed up. You returned on your own and said, "Listen, I didn't say that I was missing. You said that I was missing. I never said I was missing. You said that I was missing." The problem is, it's a good chance that people were calling you left and right. They were calling you left and right, and you were following the story in some hotel somewhere or whatever. You knew what you said. You knew what you said would trigger the people that loved you, and you played them. And then when you came back, the police arrested you, and they listened to your story. They found out that you were a damn lie. And then they said, "We are going to hit you with 2 misdemeanors." And they let her go. Now you have an outcry of black females saying this woman should be in jail and blah, blah, blah. And, we've had people that's gone missing, and this is no joke. She laughed about the whole thing. You have Dr. Umar Johnson saying, hey, don't put her in jail. And you have people on both sides saying this, that, and the third. Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. You got hit with 2 misdemeanors, right? Listen. There's a wave. There's a wave of repercussions that's going to come your way. You will not walk away from this as if it never happened because the nation was looking for you and those outside of the nation. It wasn't only America that was looking for you because we know that people who are getting trafficked, they are leaving the United States. Some of them are crossing the border, other ones are being taken on trains, planes, and automobiles. This is not a thing that America is on itself is dealing with. This is a problem that's happening more wide, worldwide. Like I said, there are more slaves now than there has ever been. This is worldwide. You could easily cross into Mexico. Easily, somebody can snatch you, cross you into Mexico, put you on a plane, and you'll be in Central Africa. It's easy. Absolutely not. It would be easy to snatch you, and then the next 2 days you're in Sierra Leone working in the mines. It would be easy to do that. Your passport gone. Anything that identifies you gone. You have a new master. And nobody cares the fact that you're American. As a matter of fact, they want you to be American. And now you're digging for gold, literally with your hands. Or you're digging for cobalt. You're in the cobalt mines. There's 15,000 Africans digging in cobalt mines. Or Goodyear. Goodyear puts you to work and says, go out and dig. Because Goodyear is over there in Africa doing the same thing, like a lot of companies are. There are a lot of factories that are over there using the Africas and paying them little to nothing. This is why the Africans are starting to rebel. They're starting to rebel. They're like, no, we want fair is fair. The diamond mines, they've dug up most of the diamond mines that De Beers was controlling. De Beers has a standing army to guard the diamond mines. What up with you? How you doing? So this is a very, very serious thing that you did. And like I said, this can affect people all over the world because people all over the world are being taken for free labor. They are indentured servants. They're being used in one way or another. They're being valued for the organs. They're being valued for sex. They're being valued for their strength. They're being valued for their strength. Know this. Those men that are climbing in and out of those holes, risking their lives every day, those guys are not weak at all. You don't see not one fat person in the cobalt mines. There is not one overweight person digging in the cobalt mines. Not one. There is not one fat person who's digging for gold. Not one. You will not find one fat person digging over there in the Congo. You won't find one. They are all extremely healthy. Extremely. Digging with their hands, you will lose weight like that. It will melt off you. It's not one out of shape person. They might be sick, but that ain't gonna last long. They'll just fall off and be replaced quickly. So they come over here to America where we're extremely obese. We're known for it. Our pride is killing us. We're lazy as hell. And then they run into somebody like you and put your fat ass out there into one of these mines. But no, you lied. And here's the thing. There are people being snatched every day who need those resources allocated to their cause. But you wasted a lot of money on a lie. So the same people who loved you that didn't know you now despise you. It's the same thing when white women claim they have cancer and they don't. They wanted the attention, they got the attention until somebody finds out that you never really had cancer. Now you get people who despise them because they pulled on the heartstrings of America because a lot of people have cancer and they're dying every day from it. It is a very sleazeball thing to do, especially being that trafficking is a pandemic. So people are saying she should go to jail because she should be punished. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Women lie all the time and get away with it. The girl in New York said this, she told the same lie. Said she was abducted. She wasn't abducted. It was a whole thing she did. She didn't go to jail. White women do the same thing. They cry, some black guy did this. Turns out no black guy ever to be found. Police officers do it. We had two police officers, to my knowledge, who fabricated a shooting and said that it was a black guy who shot them. These other officers are up in arms and they go out and they start looking for a black guy and turn around once they do the ballistics and they look at the bullets on the ground, they see that it all came from a police revolver. The cops did it to themselves. Carly Russell is not going to be punished by the law, but she's going to be punished by morals. Hell, somebody might come up and slap her. Somebody might. Somebody might punch her dead in the face. Now, here's another thing that could happen. Those same people that allocated resources, the government being one of them, because the government was in on it, city, county, state, anyone who allocated resources towards looking for you. This is anywhere from, you know, police dogs to just the policeman, period. Just getting, listen, the fire engines and detectives and people working overtime. It costs a lot of money just to get these people to do any of that stuff. But that's their job. And they're working overtime to try to find you and all this other stuff. When you're just looking at just the police department, you're probably going to be out $100,000 if they sue you. And that's light. That's slight. Once the federal government gets into it, you'd be looking at easily $1 million, easily. And we're not talking about everybody else who was looking for you. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say Carly Russell does not have $1 million. And if the government sues you to try to recoup some of the funds that you wasted, and you go, well, I don't have that type of money, now you could be looking at a whole different kind of, judgment against you. They may not send you to prison, but they can garnish your wages until they're satisfied, and they can penalize your family, which means they can turn your family against you. If they say you owe, $2 million that was allocated for the last couple of days, to all of these different departments, and we want our money, we want it back. You're going to go, I do not have $2 million. And they're going to say, okay, well, let's look at your savings. Do you have any? Let's look at any financial. And if you're like, well, I only got, $5,000 here, that they're going to look at your vehicle and say, what's that worth? 2000, what is it? Maybe a 20, you guys know I'm just doing the numbers. They're going to go, okay, that little Honda Civic is worth what? 15. Boom, we're going to take that. Where do you work at? Yeah, don't quit your job. You're going to need to keep working there. We're going to take half of whatever you make. And this is going to last until we get our money back, not to mention there's interest on top of that. That's what the federal government does. And all of your taxes, probably for the rest of your natural life, is going to go towards the federal government. And like I said, they can go after anyone in your family. They can. Your dad, his pension, your dad got one of them nice, pensions from the railroad or bus driver or any of that. Guess what? It's gone. They're going to take it and they're not even going to tell you they're taking it. They're just going to snatch it right out from under you. And of course, that's how, he's paying the mortgage. So there goes your house. That's going to go out the window. It's going to get even uglier. They're going to take both his vehicles and your mother's vehicle. Oh yeah, they can do this and leave you with the bare minimum. You're going to have to move to an apartment on the bus line. Your dad's going to have to come out of retirement. Mom's going to have to come out of retirement. And they're going to have to work until the government gets their $2 million plus their interest. And let's just say all this was true. They even went after the house. The house is worth maybe what? 250? You might be already, 300 grand in. Now you owe what? 1.7 million. Good luck with that. So don't think that she can just walk away from this, you guys, because the government might get on that ass. They want their money. They want their money. And this is also very sad because there's so many people who are missing out there. Very sad situation. And there are going to be more people who are gone missing because there's somebody that goes missing every day. There's some high schooler, some middle schooler, some housewife, some house husband, some working man that made a wrong turn. We don't know where he is. Some college jock that decided to go to Vegas with his friends. Nobody's seen him anymore. Nobody's seen him. How about that one guy that went to Vegas, that black kid? He was 21 years old. You know where they found him? They found him on the side of the road off in the brush. You know what was missing? All of his organs. They took all of his organs and left him for the coyotes to eat. This happened in Vegas. How about the kid that was wrapped up in the gym mat? When they finally found him, when they went and looked at his body after he went to, the morgue, all of his organs were gone. Or the man that was 35 years old who got hit by a car. His family never saw his body again. They were like, where is his body? And all they could say was, it's gone. Organ trafficking is a huge deal. I've spoken about it a lot of times before, so I'm not going to go over all the stories, but it is a lot of money. You are valuable, trust me. Trust me, you are. So she hurts, people by this phony story because now the police gotta, They want to act on good faith that somebody's telling the truth when they say, hey, somebody's missing. But now there's some reserve because there was a lot of money wasted. Now there's reserve because this has happened more than once. It's not the only black woman who's done this. Not to mention, listen, they don't usually go after black people with such fervor. They think we're expendable. Our life is not that important within the white community, white America. It's not. We know this. So when they do get off their ass and get on their horse, you make up a lie. You know how many people wish the cops would have paid attention to their story? Begging the police, please, please, my kid is out there. The cops like, we don't believe you. We don't believe what? Tamika was Tamika. Yeah, we don't believe you. Tamika was a bad kid anyway. What? She's 12. She's terrible. We was gonna put her in juvie. She's a terrible kid. She fights all the time. No, but she's missing. And she ran away with her friends. No, she's actually missing. We called all her friends. We don't believe you. We're not gonna lift the finger. Next thing you know, Tamika comes home in a body bag. They find her on the side of the road, not even a block away. And if the police just would have went out and just scoured just a block, they would have found out that Tamika was inside of a crack house. And the guy who had her inside a crack house had other people in there too. They would have found her alive. But no, this guy just, he got what he wanted from her and then, he left her alone, but, he decided to take her up out of here. Now, that is a story that I made up, but now let's get to some real stories. Let's get to some real stories. Because there is a real story about a man who's actually a black man who was upset because his woman cheated on him. And he loved her. And he snapped. He snapped. His friend said, once that woman cheated on him, he changed. So what did he do? He went to work just like everybody else does. And then after work, he would jump into his van that had a bulkhead. And he would go and see the prostitutes. Prostitutes need money. He had money. He'd take the prostitute to, wherever they was going. Once they get into the van, he would tie them up. He would beat them. Then he would kill them. Then he would dump them off somewhere. And he did this for years. Now he got caught. He went after a woman. He was giving a woman a ride who knew him. But what he did not know about this particular woman is she was a boxing champion. Once she got into the car, he tried to tie her up. She beat the man up pretty much. And she stayed in the van beating his ass. And then she got out the van and told the police what happened. Come to find out that this guy had killed like 15 women. And nobody knew it was him. This is the problem when women or anybody cries foul. Hey, this happened to me and it didn't happen to you. Devontae Davis went to jail in 2022. Why? Because his woman said he hit him. Turns out it was a complete lie. How do we know? Because she turned around and said it was a complete lie. I've had the same thing happen to me. Woman said I did something. I was like, that's a lie. What did they do? They came after me and they threatened me until I reasoned with them and I said, "Listen, what you're saying is just not true. If you really examine what this woman is saying, you'll know she's lying to you." And that's happened to me more than once. And I had to tell the police, I'm like, this woman's lying to you. It's a flat out lie, and I can prove it. This happens to men a lot. I was listening to a story yesterday. A guy said, I have to leave my house. And he was talking to the police and talking to us on YouTube. He's like, I'm getting evicted out of my house. And then once he got in his car, he says, I just got evicted out of my house because my wife said that I assaulted her, which was a damn lie. But she did this so she can get a hold of the property when we get divorced. And he said, this is something that women have been doing of late. When they want to get divorced, they'll say, hey, Jackson over here hit me. Boom, police will come running and they'll say, you know what? You need to go ahead and leave the house, sir. He's like, this is my house. Yeah, but you two can't stay in the same house anymore. So why doesn't she leave? Because you're the man. Not to mention, you have to pay for the divorce because you're the man. You have to go find somewhere to sleep. So this is a bigger deal than we think because people want Carly Russell to be held accountable. But here's what the police said. Police said, we can only charge her with what we can charge her with. She has two misdemeanors. Boom, it's over. That's all we can charge her with is two misdemeanors. Now, for those of you who don't know, you can get a misdemeanor that is, pretty high level that'll put you in jail for 6 months. That can happen. You can also get a misdemeanor that'll cost you a lot of money. Now, just because it says misdemeanor doesn't mean there's not a penalty behind it. Because you can end up in jail for a while on a misdemeanor. Know this. So there is a punishment coming her way, but people want to say that, hey, lying and causing all this trouble, it should be a felony. But here's the problem. All of those people, the Me Too females that did all that lying on all those men in corporate, all of those husbands who lost their jobs, their pension, their children, and their lives. Not just their livelihood, their life. There are men dead because of these women lied on them. They have to go and punish all of those women. They can go and charge every single woman who came out and said it was a lie. And from now on, all of those women who say it was a lie. The backlash of that is, what if it wasn't a lie? And you punish this woman. She said, JoJo hit her. Joe's like, that's a lie. And she can't prove it. She has no marks on her face. Nonetheless, JoJo, he punched the hell out of her. But she can't prove it. Now what? There's always gray there somewhere. I'm not a lawyer. I'm just somebody who's thinking this could go either way. Now, I do believe she should be punished. I don't know what felony you could, charge her with, but there are some lawyers who can probably say, hey, you know what? She knew it was a lie. She knew the police would get involved. Now we have a situation because if you willingly knew the police were going to get involved, that means you lied to the who? Police. You lied to the police. Now we're looking at different charges. Because you can't lie to the cops. Now we're looking at a whole set of different charges. So, like I said, this thing isn't over and it can get worse. It all depends on how the federal government, if they want to step in, if the city wants to hire a lawyer and go after her for some type of felonies, blah blah blah. But what I think they're going to do is I think they're going to go after her pockets. At least I would. And being that she pretty much admits that it was a lie, we don't have any gray area about that. See, women can go, yeah, it was a lie because they think they're just gonna go sit down, eat tabbouleh salad, and nothing's gonna happen to them. But once they get that invoice, it's like, what is this? Well, this is an invoice for all the money that went into you know what you did, the lies you told. You said that your husband hit you, and we found out that that was a lie. You even said that it was a lie. Well, the problem is we kicked your husband out of your house. Your husband lost his house. He wasn't able to visit his kids. He lost his job. He lost half his pension. You owe all of that back. You owe somewhere around $100,000. That's not including the lawyer fee. And you're a house mom. You're not a working mom. You owe 100,000 plus dollars. Now, if they did this to every woman who they knew told a lie, women would stop telling these lies, especially if they harassed you for the money. If they made it very hard for you to live, which they can do, women would stop telling these lies. They tell these lies because there's no penalty whatsoever. They don't care what anybody else thinks about them. These women who cry cancer, and some of the men who cry cancer, some of the guys who say, hey, I'm disabled. And but disability is it's a huge market. It's a huge scam. It's huge. You got one guy who's in a wheelchair. He's like, yeah, I was in the military and this happened, blah, blah, blah. So what did they do? They built him a house, him and his wife. Beautiful house, nice land, had a ramp so he can scooch on up there. Here's the thing though. Whenever the government steps in and sees all of this money going towards you, especially in a GoFundMe, the government watches that. They're watching all these people rally towards you. They're like, what's going on here? Don't forget, GoFundMe is not taxed. It's not. If you put out a GoFundMe or somebody starts a GoFundMe for you and it's to reach, let's say, $25,000, you reach that $25,000, GoFundMe releases the whole $25,000 to you. The government doesn't tax it. It's almost like a grant. What it really is a gift. This is why in child support, where the baby daddy says, I've been giving this woman $600 every 2 weeks. And now she went and put me on child support because I'm working so I don't come around as much, and I have a new girlfriend. But I still pay her $600, every week. She gets this money, Your Honor. Yeah, well, that's a gift. No, it's child support. It's a gift. We don't count that in court. And why don't they count it in court? Because the government wasn't able to get their money on it. Because that money goes into retirement funds for the government, for local government. That's what child support is all about. It goes into the retirement fund. And listen, it is as big as budget as the military budget. It's huge. That's why they're like, it doesn't count. And they'll throw you in jail for it. So Carly Russell isn't getting off the hook as far as I'm concerned. I think they're going to go after her. She's young, she'll find a job somewhere. And I think they're going to go after her money. And they can go after her money. I think she's going to get sued. Not only that, she can get sued by the people who actually, hey, I helped you. Don't forget, like, okay, so when a cop kills someone, like which just happened recently, the cop rolled up on this kid who's 22 or something like that, sitting in his car. Cop seen him doing something. Boom, squad car rolls up, jumps out, two cops get out. One cop rolls up on him. He says, hey, guy has something in his hand. Cops, takes it out of his hand. He says, put your hands on the steering wheel and don't move, which are very clear orders. But this kid is hiding something. So he has his hand on the steering wheel. There's a cop here. There's a cop here. This window's rolled down. This window's rolled down. He has his hand on the steering wheel, and the cop's talking to him. And when the cop turns his head, this guy moves his hand and goes for his console. So what is the cop thinking? You're going for a weapon. That wasn't what happened. What happened was the kid was trying to throw dope out the window. The cop thought he was going for a weapon, shot him one time, and killed him. Now, of course, it's going to go before, a grand jury, yada, yada, yada. But whenever a cop kills someone, they look at it, they look at it in two different courts. It gets looked at in criminal court and it gets looked at in civil court. Why does it get looked at in civil court? For one, when it gets looked at in criminal court, a grand jury looks at it. If a grand jury looks at it, your lawyer has no influence over a grand jury. And sometimes it's just the judge's decision. It's not a jury appears. Sometimes it's just the judge's decision to say, and it was justified. Bang, bang, boom. That's it. The grand jury, only their lawyers in there for the grand jury. Nobody can, nobody has a defense because they're not there. Look it up if you think I'm lying. However, in civil court, it's different. If it goes to civil court, you can sue them financially. They don't go to jail, but you can sue the police officer for what? Wrongful death. You can sue for wrongful death. This is what happened with Trayvon. Yeah, wrongful death. I think Michael Brown too. I think his parents sued him for that police officer or the police department for wrongful death. Don't forget, you can also sue the police department and or sue the cop themselves. So in the Michael Brown case, the police officer was, he was let off duty. But they can just go to another county and find the same job. But what happened was a GoFundMe was started for that police officer, and he ended up with $250,000. Now, what did that do? It caused a ripple effect. Shortly after that, there was an officer who faked his own shooting and said a black guy shot him. Once they figured it all out, it was him who shot his own self. But the way he staged it was so asinine. It was like, how did you think we were going to fall for this? He was yelling, 7 Mary 3, shots fired, blah, blah, blah. And there were bullets strewn about. Well, he found out they were all from the same weapon. There were no other bullets there. Not to mention they did the whole line of sight. Where were you shooting? And they just figured out you made the whole thing up. But why did he make that up? Because he saw what happened to Darren Wilson. He's the one who shot Michael Brown. He said, even if I lose my job, I get what? People will start a GoFundMe for me. I can get $250,000. What happened to the guy who Daniel whatever, the guy who killed Michael Neely on the train recently? What did people do? They were like, he was a veteran. He was just trying to protect the people on the train. The problem was Neely didn't threaten you. But Jordan said he threatened. He was a threat. No, he was yelling because he was hungry. They were like, oh, but this guy's been to jail 40 times. Listen, this guy is in his, 20, maybe 30. He's been to jail 40 times. How long do you think he was in the jail each time? He was in there for overnight. The guy's homeless and he's on a train asking for money. This happens a lot with homeless people, especially during the winter. Why? Because they want to be taken to jail because they'll get 3 hots in a cot. They do it all the time. They'll walk right into a grocery store, grab a bag of chips, and start eating the bag of chips. And you'll say, I'll call the police. They're like, good. Call them. Please come arrest them. Boom. They have somewhere to sleep for the next week. That's why he was in jail 40 times. Look at his record. It's the first thing they like to put up. He was a criminal 40 times. 40 times. The guy wasn't an old man. He was a young man. That's why. He was hungry. And he was a threat to who? To you and the other 2 people who tied him down? You had him in an MMA chokehold for over 3 minutes. 3 minutes. If you watch MMA and somebody gets put into a rear naked choke, which is what it's called, they immediately let them go. Somebody taps, boom, let them go. You don't see nobody in MMA, not even in practice, will have somebody in a rear naked choke for 3 minutes. You held him in a rear naked choke for 3 minutes. He couldn't recover. And the other 2 guys held him still. He could not recover. His body could not recover. Once he got into the ambulance, even when they gave him oxygen, his lungs could not recover from the deficit, the oxygen deficit, and that's how he died. Asphyxiation. And then we'll say he's a hero. No, he's a murderer. For one, this is a rear naked choke. For 2, you're in the military. First thing they teach you is hand-to-hand combat. First thing they teach you is how to kill somebody with your hands. They don't teach you how to beat people up in the military. They teach you how to disable somebody and kill them. You disabled him and you killed him. You took his oxygen away and he died from it. That's what happened. But you said he was a threat, but he didn't threaten anyone. You tried to make it seem like he was helping, like he was going to hurt someone. But in all the times that he was put in prison or put in jail, not one of them was for assault. Not unless somebody knows something I don't. How many times was he in jail for going on the train and assaulting people, punching them, beating them up? This man who was hungry and $1.60 easy, maybe less than that. He looked frail. He was no competition. He had no energy to fight any of you. One of you could have easily took him out, but there were 3 of you that stayed on him. But what happened? What did America do? They started a GoFundMe for him. Now he has thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars all going towards his lawyer. He didn't even have to pay a lawyer. He didn't have to pay a lawyer. Remember Ahmaud Arbery? Him too? And the two white dudes who shot him? And what did the people say? They were just trying to protect their neighborhood. Really? Found out that was a lie. One of those guys was an ex-police officer. The other one was his son. Oh, this guy was a thief. Remember that's how they painted him? Turns out that he had got arrested before. He has an arrest record. Well, let's look at what happened in that arrest record because it was on camera what happened to him. He went into a store, he bought something, he came back out of the store. They said that he stole something. The police rolled up on him, told him to get on his knees. He's like, for what? What did I do? They tried to say he stole a TV. He was like, wait, what? He's like, no, I didn't steal anything. I bought something. Here's my receipt. He offered them a receipt. This is what I bought. This is what I bought. They arrested him anyway. So now it's on his arrest record. He got arrested for stealing something he didn't steal. If you don't go down to the courthouse and say, I want this expunged off my record because I was never put in prison for this or in jail for this. You guys over indicted me. You have to expunge this off my record. If you don't go down and do that, it's still on your record. And depending on what it is, now it's on your BCI record. So you have to call BCI. They're going to give you an email. You have to email and do all of this other stuff to try to get off your BCI record. But even that might not be sealed. So whenever something like this happens, they look on your record, they dig up your BCI record. There it is. This guy stole something without knowing the whole bit. He didn't steal anything. He had a receipt for it. So when he walked into that house and he was looking around, they tried to say he stole fishing equipment. Which he did not. The house wasn't even finished. He had no fishing equipment whatsoever. He was just looking around. And not only that, he wasn't the only person that looked around in that house. If a house is not finished and it's open like that to where you can walk in on all kind of angles, usually nobody is going to say anything about that because people like to see houses being built. Don't forget the people who killed him on Arbery, they were not the owners. They just lived in that area. And it was a woman who initially made a call, I believe. And when the men called, they said he might have a gun. Ahmaud Arbery didn't have a gun. They only did that to heighten up the situation so the police would think that he's dangerous. So when they do kill him, they can justify it. The problem is there's no weapon. It's a police tactic they use all the time when they want to kill you. Then they tracked him down and they cornered him. And they made sure he couldn't get out of the way. And there were 3 men that tracked him down in vehicles when he was jogging. There's a big problem with that too, because there was a video camera in the car that was behind the truck. And the video camera showed the whole thing. For one, he's running down the street. If he stole fishing equipment, there was nothing in his hand. Not to mention they were saying he was coming in there stealing fishing equipment, meaning he came, once or twice to steal equipment. But the owner of the house said there was nothing ever stolen out of that house. He wasn't stealing anything. How did the owner know? Because there's a camera that showed the whole thing. Not to mention, Amon Arbery went in there during the day. There's a camera that picked him up walking in, looking around, walking out. He didn't touch anything. He didn't walk over to something and go, "What is this?" and put something in his pocket. No, he walked in, he looked around, he's like, "Cool," and walked out. That's it. Then they started chasing him in a truck like some damn hillbillies. They got out of the truck, and one of them had a shotgun. The father, I believe. Uh, So Amon Arbery had nowhere to go because they blocked his way to retreat and they blocked his way forward. So he thought, I have nowhere to go. This guy has a gun on me, has me dead to right. If I run, he's going to do what? Shoot me in the back. That's going to look like what? He was fleeing. So he went into defense mode. He says, if I can close the distance on this dude who has a shotgun on me, I can aim the gun down so I won't get shot. He was already in half stride, which means he was running. So he looked, he saw the old man, and he started running towards him. The old man lifted up the gun before he can get to him. Bang, hit him. That was it. It was all over. He caught him at point blank range with a shotgun, which is a spread gun, by the way. But the world sympathized with him, at least America did, until they figured out the whole story. This is the problem that Carly Russell's going to have. America before can be for you or against you. America is now against Carly Russell. And I think she's going to pay for it. And I hope she does. What's going on, Natalie? What of the young man mauled by a police dog? Yeah, so that happened. All right. So I should do this on another live, but I'll talk about it now. You know what? No, I'm not. I'm going to come back. I'll come back. Yeah, I'm coming back in like 2 minutes. I'll wait till you get on, say hello, and then I'll talk about it. All right.